The broth had boiled too long. Luo Chen stared at the pot with dead eyes, the rising steam ghosting upward like the last breath of a dream. He didn't need to taste it. He already knew. Bitter. Burnt. The kind of flavor that clung to your mouth like regret. Just like everything else in his life. His stall, Chen's Honest Noodles, sat tucked in a shadowed corner of an alley behind Huajing's glittering South Ring commercial district. Once, people lined up for his hand-pulled noodles and slow-simmered bone broths. Now, the only visitor was the occasional stray cat, meowing for scraps that no longer came. Across the alley, neon signs flickered, announcing new openings of high-end fusion spots, Molecular Dim Sum, Sky Sushi, Phoenix Nest Bistro. All helmed by celebrity chefs. All mocking him with every plated flourish. A bowl clattered in the sink, cracked porcelain echoing like thunder in the silence. Another day. No customers. Again. Luo Chen leaned against the counter and exhaled. Smoke curled from the pot, but he didn't move. Let it burn. Let it all burn. His fingers brushed the jade pendant under his shirt, the last thing his grandfather left him. Sorry, Ye, he muttered. I failed you again. A gust of summer wind swept through the alley, stirring the scent of charred pork bones and old oil. Luo Chen blinked up at the evening sky, caught between smog and starlight. He wasn't always like this. Once, he had walked the marbled halls of the Imperial Cuisine Academy, a golden name on the leaderboard, hailed as the Crimson Blade for his precision cuts and fiery dishes. His grandfather's legacy was alive in him then, a culinary path stretching all the way to the celestial kitchens. Until Lin Mu happened. Luo Chen's grip tightened at the memory. A stolen recipe. A faked accusation of poisoning an instructor. And a conveniently discovered herb that was never in his original dish. Lin Mu's tearful performance. The judge's frowns. The dismissal letter. No trial. No appeal. Just exile. And then, the heart attack. His grandfather collapsed the same night. Luo Chen hadn't even been able to pay for the hospital in time. He hadn't cooked with joy since. A sudden clang snapped him out of the spiral. Something fell, tumbled, from the high shelf behind the counter. He turned. The old iron wok. His grandfather's wok. It had been sealed away in a dusty box ever since he gave up trying to recreate the old man's mysterious final dish, a stew Luo Chen remembered only by scent, complex, warm, and strangely divine. Now, the wok sat upside down on the counter, the impact cracking its blackened base. As he moved to pick it up, something rattled inside. His brow furrowed. A hidden compartment? With a careful twist, he dislodged the false layer at the base. A small, cloth-wrapped bundle slipped into his hands. Inside was a book. Or rather, a scroll bound like a book, the silk faded but pulsing faintly with warmth. Embroidered characters danced across the cover like drifting aroma in the air. 7-Realm Cookbook. To cook is to touch the soul. To taste is to walk the path. He blinked. The calligraphy shimmered faintly with golden light, or was that just the lamplight? His fingers tingled as he turned the first page. First Realm, Spicy. The Taste of Passion. An illustration of a fiery lotus stirred to life under his gaze. Notes followed in a script only slightly more modern than Oracle bone etching, yet he understood them. As if the book wanted to be read. The flaming lotus stir-fry, awaken the fire within. Ingredients are secondary. Intent is key. Let the qi guide the flame. Let emotion guide the knife. Luo Chen's chest tightened. Qi? Intent? Was this a joke? He snorted, but the smell of something new wafted from the book itself. Potpourri. Invigorating. Familiar and not. His hands moved before his mind caught up. He reached for his cleaver. The dull metal gleamed under the moonlight. His first cut through a crimson chili was smoother than it should have been. As if the blade had remembered something he'd forgotten. He lit the stove again. The broth had burned, yes. But maybe. Maybe it was time to start a new fire. The chili oil hissed in the wok like a serpent awakening. Luo Chen stood in the center of his tiny stall, sleeves rolled, eyes narrowed. Around him, the clutter of failed dreams and discarded takeout boxes faded into silence. There was only the scent now, sharp, alive, hungry. Red lotus petals of flame bloomed as he tossed chopped chilies, ginger slivers, and Sichuan peppercorns into the smoking oil. The wok sizzled in approval, resonating with an energy that made the hairs on his arms rise. He had cooked thousands of stir-fries before. But this was different. He could feel it. The chi. Not like in the martial novels he used to read. This wasn't force. It was flow, between blade and vegetable, between flame and intent. Each cut of his cleaver felt guided. Precise. The rhythm of the chopping, the timing of the toss, the layering of flavors, they moved through him like music. The ingredients he'd scrounged earlier that day, lotus root, red bell peppers, mountain chili threads, fermented black beans, fire garlic, combined not in technique, but in emotion. Anger. Regret. Shame. Hope. He poured it all into the wok. Then came the final step, a single lotus seed, nestled in the center of the pan. As it hit the oil, the flame surged higher than it should have, whoosh. But Luo Chen didn't flinch. The scent that followed was staggering. Sweet fire. Cleansing heat. The kind of aroma that made your blood remember old passions. The dish was complete. A quiet cough startled him. He turned. An elderly woman stood just outside the stall's tarp curtain, wrapped in a gray shawl, her face furrowed with years and sorrow. She looked lost, like someone who had forgotten where they were going mid-step. "I smelled something," she said. "Spicy. Like my husband used to make." Before her voice trailed off. Luo Chen hesitated. Then, without a word, he plated the dish and handed it to her. Flaming lotus stir-fry. The colors shimmered ruby red, golden brown, bursts of green onion against the lotus slices. Steam curled up like incense. It looked ordinary, but it wasn't. She sat at the rickety stool and picked up the chopsticks with trembling hands. One bite. She froze. Her eyes widened. Then welled. A quiet sob escaped her lips. She tried to hide it, but couldn't. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she chewed, lips quivering not from spice, but from feeling. "I remember," she whispered. "He used to hold my hand just like this, when we ate by the river in autumn." She finished the plate in silence. Then she stood, bowed deeply, and left without another word, but her back was straighter now. Her steps lighter. Something had been lifted. Luo Chen stood frozen, chopsticks still in hand. A heat bloomed in his chest, not from the wok, but within. Like a small sun igniting under his ribs. Suddenly, words formed in his mind. Flame chi, blazing aroma, unlocked. Enhance flavor intensity by channeling inner flame. Can influence emotional resonance through culinary fire. He gasped, gripping the counter. It wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a dream. The cookbook had spoken truth. He had just cooked a realm. And he was no longer just a failed chef. That night, Luo Chen didn't sleep. He cleaned the stall, sharpened every knife, oiled every pan. Then he turned back to the ancient cookbook, flipping to the second page. Second realm, bitter. The taste of truth. Below it, the image of a black rain over a stone bowl shimmered faintly. He smiled. For the first time in years, Luo Chen felt something stir beneath the ashes of failure. Hunger. Not for food. But for flame. The morning haze over Huajing City parted with the clang of market carts and motorbike horns, but in a certain back alley just off South Ring Street, the air shimmered with something else. Curiosity. Is this the place? I heard a widow came out smiling through tears. His food made her remember her dead husband. Like, literally remember. That's nonsense. But doesn't it smell amazing? A small crowd had gathered outside Chen's Honest Noodles, not that the hand-painted sign inspired much confidence. But the scent wafting from the stall was undeniable, sharp red chili oil with a floral afternote, like fire scented with memory. Inside, Luo Chen moved with focus. He chopped chili threads so fine they curled like incense smoke. He adjusted flame height with a subtle hand gesture. He listened, not just to the sizzle of the wok, but to the heartbeat of each ingredient. The blazing aroma technique was more than just flame enhancement. It was like a sixth sense through heat and scent. He could feel which part of the lotus root still carried too much moisture. He could tell which peppers had too much bitterness from sun-warped drying. He was cooking with chi now. And his dishes sang. Next. A shy teenager stepped forward, eyes darting around nervously. Is it true? You helped an old woman cry? Luo Chen blinked. I helped her eat, he said, deadpan. The boy laughed awkwardly, then accepted the plate of flaming lotus stir-fry. 1 bite. 2. Gulp. The boy didn't cry. He didn't laugh. He grinned a wide, unrestrained grin that made his acne-covered cheeks flush. I don't know why, but suddenly I feel like I should call my mom. Behind him, a middle-aged couple exchanged glances and stepped into line. By noon, the queue stretched down the alley. Not far away, in a sleek, glass-walled kitchen studio above Huajing's Gourmet Plaza, a man in a chef's coat paused mid-livestream. Cut the feed, said Lin Mu. The assistant stammered. But Chef Lin, we still have the... I said cut it. The screen went dark. Lin Mu leaned back against the counter, frowning. He'd ignored the early whispers, urban legends about a street chef whose food could make people weep or laugh. But now, it wasn't just gossip. The food critic from Huajing Bites, the intern from Kitchen Stars Weekly, the widow of Minister Zhao. They all mentioned the same alley. The same stall. The same name. Luo Chen. A name Lin Mu thought he had buried. He clenched his fist. Looks like the rat's cooking again. Back in the alley, Luo Chen wiped sweat from his brow. The wok had cooled for now. The last customer had left with glassy eyes and a quiet thank you. He sat on an overturned crate, sipping tea and flipping the second page of the 7-realm cookbook. Second realm, bitter, the taste of truth. Bitterness reveals. What sweetness hides, bitterness unmasks. When cooked with intention, bitterness can guide lost souls to clarity. The ingredients listed weren't rare, but the preparation was intricate. Dried snow fungus. Aged mountain mushrooms fermented in salt caves. Rainwater collected during a thunderstorm. And a broth base that must simmer through 3 full cycles of the moon. He closed the book slowly. 3 moon cycles? He sighed. You just gave me fire. Now you want patience? Just then, a tap came at the counter. A girl early 20s, eyes red-rimmed, business suit wrinkled and stained. She didn't speak. She held out a 20-yuan bill and looked at him like she didn't expect much. Luo Chen nodded slowly. No stir-fry today, he said. She looked about to turn away when he added, I'll make something else. As he gathered ingredients, something inside him whispered. The flaming lotus had awakened emotion. But this would need to touch something deeper. He picked up a cluster of dried mushrooms. Bitter rain soup. It wasn't ready. He hadn't mastered it yet. But maybe, for her sake, he would begin learning it now. The stall was silent, save for the soft glug-glug-glug of a pot slow simmering on low flame. Outside, the girl in the wrinkled business suit sat hunched at the corner stool, fingers trembling slightly as she stared at the chipped tabletop. She had said nothing since handing over her money. Her makeup had streaked, and there was a faint scent of cheap liquor on her breath. Luo Chen didn't ask. Some griefs didn't want to be named. They wanted to be boiled, brewed, and brought back in the bitter. He turned to the wok, but this dish didn't need oil or flash. It needed stillness. The second realm recipe lay open beside him on the prep table. Bitter rain soup. A dish to cleanse the shadows in the heart. Not through sweetness, but through confrontation. The bitterness must not be masked. It must be honored. Unlock condition: cook with sincerity, for one who stands on the edge. Luo Chen swallowed. He wasn't sure if he was ready. He hadn't fasted. He hadn't brewed thunder rainwater or sourced aged cloud mushrooms from Skywind Mountain like the recipe suggested. But he had tears. And sometimes, real bitterness was enough. He began with aged black mushrooms, thick, wrinkled things that smelled like wet stone. He sliced them into thin layers, soaking them in spring water until they unfolded like forgotten memories. He added dried snow fungus, not for sweetness, but for texture, delicate and ghost-like, a contrast to the earthiness of the mushrooms. Next, bitter gourd, sliced against the grain. Raw and bracing. Unapologetic. The broth was bone stock, simmered down from ox marrow and licorice root, an uneasy balance, not quite pleasant, but deep. Finally, he added a single sprig of shadow leaf, a strange herb his grandfather had stored in a wax seal jar, never used, until now. It smelled like cold rain. The moment it touched the broth, the color shifted to a cloudy gray. Steam rose, carrying a scent like a funeral in spring, bitter, yes, but edged with something clean. Redemptive. The girl didn't speak as he set the bowl before her. She stared at it for a long time. The surface of the soup barely rippled. "I don't want to forget," she said suddenly. Luo Chen paused mid-turn. "I just wanted one more day," she murmured. "He broke up with me. Said I was suffocating. That I clung to things too hard." She looked up at him, eyes hollow. "But I gave him everything." Luo Chen didn't answer. Just nodded. And walked back to the kitchen. Behind him, the girl lifted the spoon. One sip. Her expression didn't change. 2 sips. She closed her eyes. 3. She dropped the spoon. Then she laughed, a brittle, broken sound. And wept. Silently. Something pulsed inside Luo Chen's chest. His breath caught. The air shifted, not physically, but spiritually. The temperature didn't drop, yet he shivered. A voice or sensation whispered from within. Realm 2 unlocked, bitter rain soup. New ability, taste of truth. When bitterness is accepted, truth is revealed. Sense hidden emotions. Perceive the heart of one who eats your food. He stumbled back, hand to his chest. For a brief second, he felt her grief, not just heard or saw it, but lived it. The night staring at her phone. The anxiety, the desperation, the rage. The morning she realized the messages stopped coming. But now. There was a small, dim space inside her, like a window cracked open. The first step to letting go. She stood, wiped her eyes, and left without finishing the bowl. But her steps no longer dragged. That night, Luo Chen sat alone, the stall closed, a cup of tea in hand. He stared at the second page of the 7-realm cookbook. Below the bitter rain soup was a new line, written in fresh golden script. One who serves bitterness must know it first. He looked at his reflection in the tea. And for the first time, admitted something to himself. He hadn't just been cooking for others. He was cooking to forgive himself. Far across the city, Lin Mu scrolled through a new viral video on his phone. A woman outside a noodle stall, crying quietly as she thanked a shadowed figure behind a steaming bowl. He tapped the screen. Zoomed in. Paused. There. The faintest glimpse of a familiar face. Luo Chen. Lin Mu smiled coldly. It's time we cooked again. Huajing buzzed with trends, but few lasted longer than a cup of milk tea. Food fads came and went like monsoon winds. A street stall becoming the talk of the town was rare. One being spoken of in hushed, reverent tones? Unheard of. But in alley forums, chef circles, and even among middle-aged aunties at morning wet markets, the name Luo Chen had become legend. And legends draw shadows. The day began like any other. Luo Chen rinsed his vegetables in spring water, sharpened his cleaver with long, rhythmic strokes, and checked the simmering bone broth for the bitter soup now part of his daily offering. But before he could open the tarp flaps for the lunch rush, a shadow fell across his counter. Sharp. Tall. Immaculately dressed. Long time no slice, junior brother. Luo Chen didn't look up. He knew the voice. It hadn't changed, still coated with smugness, like cream floating atop weak tea. Lin Mu, he said. The man in the tailored chef's coat and mirror-polished shoes gave a dazzling smile, the kind that had charmed TV hosts and won cooking competitions. Still playing with street scraps? Lin Mu asked, inspecting the stall with barely concealed contempt. I expected a bit more after 3 years of exile. Luo Chen calmly laid down his knife. I cook, he said. That's enough. Not for me. Lin Mu leaned forward. You're trending again. Little rumors, emotional dishes, tear-jerking nonsense. But you and I both know that the Imperial Cuisine Academy doesn't take kindly to rogues. Luo Chen met his gaze. Afraid I'll remind them who was actually the best? Lin Mu's smile thinned. We were classmates, Chen, he said lightly. We competed. I rose. You boiled. He paused, then drew a shiny silver envelope from his coat. Here. An official invitation to a Livestream charity culinary gala, hosted by Huajing Celebrity Kitchens. A public event. High-profile judges. Thousands of viewers. A battle of flavors, heart, and prestige. You and me. One course. No excuses. Luo Chen took the envelope, didn't open it. You want to cook? He asked. You'll get fire. But as Lin Mu turned to go, Luo Chen added, voice quiet, firm. But not yet. Lin Mu paused, amused. Scared? No, Luo Chen said. Unready. He turned back to the cookbook, where the next page shimmered faintly. Third realm, sweet memory tofu. The flavor of nostalgia. The key to unlocking memory through sweetness. Only a heart in harmony can summon another's past. Luo Chen's hand trembled as he touched the page. I can't face him yet, he thought. Not until I've mastered this. Not until I can show them that cooking isn't about flash. It's about truth. And the next truth he needed was memory. That night, Luo Chen closed early. He didn't sharpen knives. He sat at the edge of his cot, the 7-realm cookbook open in his lap, a tray of soft tofu set before him, and an old photograph, himself as a child, holding his grandfather's hand beside a makeshift clay stove. He remembered the tofu they had eaten. Pan-fried, crispy-edged. Soy-glazed. Simple. But sweet with laughter. And he wondered. Could a dish bring back not just a memory, but a person's reason to live? In another kitchen far above the city, Lin Mu watched the livestream numbers climb. Let him stall, he muttered. The more time he takes, the more dramatic his fall. He chopped a chili with theatrical flair, knowing the cameras were watching. But in the back of his mind, one memory lingered, a dish he had tasted long ago in the academy. Made by Luo Chen. Simple tofu. And for a moment, it had made Lin Mu miss his mother, something he had not done in years. He scowled. Then chopped harder. Midnight in Huajing was a blur of neon and noise, but within Luo Chen's back alley stall, time moved differently. Slower. Quieter. Sacred. Before him sat a block of fresh silken tofu, white as snow, trembling with the breath of the night air. Not just an ingredient, a canvas. For this dish, there would be no flame, no oil, no spectacle. Only memory. Only truth. Third realm, sweet memory tofu. A dish not for the tongue, but the soul. Stir the sweetness of the heart, call forth the scent of forgotten moments. Requirement: cook for one whose memory has been sealed by regret. Luo Chen thought back to the woman with the broken heart, the boy who called his mother after the flaming lotus, and the businessman who lingered at his stall yesterday, eyes hollow from burnout. There was pain in the world. Bitterness, anger, sorrow. But beneath it all, was always someone who missed. He selected pear blossom honey rare, mild, floral, and added it drop by drop to a reduction of fermented soy and warm rice vinegar, blending it into a syrup that carried both sweetness and depth. He drizzled it over the tofu like calligraphy. Then came a topping of preserved osmanthus petals, golden flecks of late spring. The final touch, a single crushed peanut, roasted just enough to release its nostalgic warmth. Luo Chen inhaled. The scent transported him instantly. To summer evenings at the edge of the village. To his grandfather humming an old opera tune. To tofu fried on a crooked stove while dragonflies buzzed. His fingers trembled. The taste of memory had awakened in him. But who would he serve? As if summoned, a voice called from outside the stall. I heard you can make people cry. Let's see if you can make me feel anything. The speaker was a woman, sleek blazer, tightly wound bun, digital tablet in one hand. Her badge read, Jiang Yu editor, Huajing Gourmet Quarterly. I don't eat carbs, she added. And I'm allergic to PR fluff. Luo Chen simply nodded. I'll cook tofu. I hate tofu. Good, he said, already preparing. She watched him work, suspicious, arms crossed. But when the dish arrived, she blinked. It was simple. Elegant. Modest. She picked up her spoon. Only a bite. She took it. And froze. Jiang Yu dropped the spoon with a clatter. Her eyes widened. No. Suddenly, she was 5 again, in a tiled kitchen that no longer existed. A warm summer breeze blew through the open window. Her mother was there, young, tired, beautiful. She smiled and held out a bowl of tofu glazed in honey and spring onions. You'll grow tall if you eat it all, her mother whispered. She hadn't tasted it since. Hadn't remembered it since. Tears welled in her eyes before she could stop them. What did you do to me? Luo Chen answered softly. Nothing you didn't already carry. Third realm unlocked, sweet memory tofu. New ability, memory recall. Your dishes can surface specific memories. Sense emotional resonance, guiding the eater to a moment long buried. As the power settled within him, Luo Chen saw flickers of her memories, not details, but feelings, warmth. Loss. A promise to keep moving forward, no matter what. When she finally left, Jiang Yu said nothing. But the next day, an anonymous review appeared online. In a quiet corner of the city, there is a chef who serves memories. Not Michelin. Not gourmet. But if you have something forgotten, something worth remembering, go. Signed, Yu. Elsewhere, Lin Mu watched the article go viral. He crushed a piece of rock sugar in his palm. So he's learned sweetness, he muttered. But let's see how long it lasts when the kitchen gets hot. He made a call. Tell the organizers I accept. The cook-off is on. Back in the alley, Luo Chen closed his stall early. He turned to the next page of the 7-realm cookbook. The ink pulsed with qi. 4th realm, sour, to awaken hunger in a heart that has gone numb. But first, face a flame not of the wok, but of pride. A new invitation arrived at his door. The charity banquet. It was time. The ballroom of the Cloud Lantern Hotel shimmered like a sea of starlight, crystal chandeliers, polished floors, gold-accented cutlery. Servers moved like dancers. Cameras lined the perimeter, live-streaming the event to tens of thousands. At the center stood 2 chefs. Lin Mu, pristine in a white chef's coat bearing the Imperial Cuisine Academy emblem, surrounded by fawning reporters and reality TV judges. And across from him, Luo Chen wearing a plain apron, sleeves rolled, hands calloused but steady. No entourage. No sponsors. Just his grandfather's old wok. The audience barely recognized him. But they would soon. Welcome to the Golden Flame Charity Cook-Off, the announcer boomed. 2 culinary prodigies. 1 stage. 1 course each. Our judges tonight. Luo Chen tuned it all out. Instead, he closed his eyes. Let the world blur. Let the sounds fade. Let the cookbook open within his mind. The dish he would serve tonight wasn't flashy. It wasn't dramatic. But it came from the deepest root of memory, the truest heat of emotion. He would not cook to impress. He would cook to reach. Lin Mu moved first. With camera-friendly flair, he flambéed crab legs in Shaoxing wine, garnished with edible gold leaf and basil foam. His dish glittered like something born from a luxury magazine ad, precise, perfect, and utterly sterile. The crowd applauded. Photographers flashed. Then it was Luo Chen's turn. He stepped up, steady, unhurried. Name of your dish? The host asked, barely masking boredom. Luo Chen said only. Sour plum braised pork with lotus root. The crowd blinked. A humble home dish? But as the wok heated and the first scents escaped, vinegar, caramelizing sugar, dried tangerine peel, silence fell. The smell cut through the ballroom like a memory-breaking surface tension. Even the judges sat straighter. Luo Chen glazed the pork slowly, letting the sauce reduce with sour plum wine, aged 10 years. He layered in slices of lotus root for crunch, then finished with a sprig of perilla, adding a bright, nostalgic tang. It wasn't sour like citrus. It was the sour of longing. Of missing someone you hadn't thought of in years. Of rainy windows and forgotten letters. He plated it simply. No foam. No decoration. No trick. Just truth. The first judge, a retired food critic known for hating sentimental cuisine, took a bite. Chewed. Paused. Put down his fork. And whispered. My father used to make this. Before he left. Next was a hardened investor, famous for buying out family restaurants and gutting them into chains. She took one bite and blinked rapidly. No, she murmured. This tastes like when I was still home. One by one, the judges ate. And one by one, they remembered. Not just flavor. But feeling. Lin Mu stood frozen. No one was looking at him anymore. No one praised his plating, his technique, his theatrics. They were crying over braised pork. Luo Chen bowed his head. Not in arrogance. But in respect. To the dish. To the feeling it had summoned. To his grandfather. The scores were tallied. Luo Chen won not by a landslide, but by a heartbeat. Lin Mu stormed off before the ceremony ended. But as the crowd flocked to the alley chef with questions and praise, Luo Chen slipped away into the kitchen. The glow from the 7-realm cookbook was waiting. 4th realm, sour longing, complete. Ability unlocked, heart's hunger. Feel the emptiness within others. Know what they truly crave, not food, but connection. He took a deep breath. 4 realms mastered. 3 more remained. And yet, he didn't feel victorious. Just lighter. That night, at his stall, a courier arrived. An envelope, sealed in gold wax, marked with a sigil shaped like crossed chopsticks above a lotus blossom. Invitation, Celestial Kitchen Trials. Location, withheld. Entry granted to those who wield the divine flame. Luo Chen looked up at the stars. His journey had just begun. The invitation pulsed faintly in Luo Chen's hand, not just an ordinary letter, but a living thing, imbued with a strange culinary qi. When he touched the wax seal, a ripple passed through his body, like the scent of an unseen broth lifting from a distant pot. You are invited to the Celestial Kitchen Trials. Location, hidden. Guidance will be provided. Those unworthy will not find the gate. There was no return address. No organizer. No explanation. Only a second slip of paper tucked within. Only chefs who cook not for fame, but for fate, may proceed. Luo Chen read it again beneath the alley's dim streetlight. He didn't smile. Didn't scoff. He merely returned to washing vegetables. But the flames in his soul stirred a hunger greater than acclaim. The next morning, he closed the stall. To regulars, he left a sign. Gone to learn. Will return with flavors never known. Then he followed the instructions: cook 3 dishes, bury the wok, light incense of cinnamon and clove, and wait. No map. No transport. Just faith. The mist came at sunset. Thick and slow, curling like steam off winter dumplings. When it parted, the alley around him had vanished. In its place stood a wooden archway covered in ivy and faded talismans. At its peak hung a sign: Celestial Kitchen. Beyond it, a winding stone path, flickering lanterns, and far-off bells that chimed like clinking bowls. The Celestial Kitchen wasn't a place. It was a realm. Hidden within folds of chi, it was where ancient culinary arts passed through generations unseen, where taste could heal, harm, or reveal. Dozens of chefs had arrived. Some in robes. Others in aprons. A few wore suits, hovering drones capturing every step. But all bowed before a massive, floating scroll that unfurled in the sky. 7 days. 3 trials. 1 flame. Only those who withstand all 3 may be recognized as celestial flame bearers. No recipes. No rules. Only truth. Luo Chen said nothing. But he felt the cookbook in his soul stir. Its pages fluttered like wind-blown silk. Next realm, nearing. 5th taste, umami. The breath of grain. The bone of dragon. The depth that binds all others. To master this, you must first understand silence. On the 2nd day, during an orientation banquet, a host of proud chefs offered extravagant dishes. Cloud-boiled peacock tongue in star anise fog. Gold-inked soup dumplings that burst into poems. Truffle-stuffed spirit mushrooms hand-plucked from dream realms. The crowd applauded, laughed, toasted. Then Luo Chen walked up and presented a bowl of plain white congee. The judges narrowed their eyes. One sneered. A woman muttered, mockery? But the head judge, an old man with eyebrows like chopsticks, took a spoonful. Chewed. Swallowed. Closed his eyes. Where did you learn this? Luo Chen bowed. From my grandfather. The judge's voice softened. You did not season it. No, Luo Chen said. The grain did. The judge leaned forward. You're ready. That night, in a hidden courtyard of the Celestial Kitchen, Luo Chen sat cross-legged in front of a sealed clay jar of rice and dragon bone broth. He had eaten nothing. Spoken to no one. The cookbook glowed faintly beside him. To unlock the umami realm, you must fast 3 days. Let the senses dull, so the depth may rise. Only the hungriest heart may perceive the breath of grain. Luo Chen closed his eyes. The hunger clawed at him. The cold gnawed. But within, a warmth began to stir. Not from his stomach, but from his spirit. The 5th realm called. 3 days. No food. No speech. Only stillness. Luo Chen sat in silence beneath a lone pine tree in the Celestial Kitchen's secluded terrace, surrounded by mist and the occasional rustle of bamboo leaves. Before him rested a sealed clay pot, inside, raw rice and powdered dragon bone, steeping in spirit water since the moment he began his fast. It was not a test of endurance. It was a test of listening. For umami, the 5th realm, was not found through fire or spice. It was the deep note beneath the melody. The longing between tastes. The soul of the dish. On the final day, the mist parted. And the clay pot breathed. Literally, tiny wisps of white steam curled from its mouth, shaped like drifting clouds, carrying the faint scent of roasted barley and marrow. Luo Chen opened his eyes. His senses were sharper, honed by hunger. But what filled him wasn't craving. It was reverence. He rose. Lit a small spirit flame under the pot, its fire fueled not by wood, but by his own internal chi, the blazing aroma, the taste of truth, memory recall, and heart's hunger all flowing inward, condensing. He stirred slowly. The rice bloomed. Not into gruel, not into slop, but into a luminous congee, its texture silkier than cream, its fragrance difficult to describe. Not salty. Not sweet. Not sharp. But complete. A single bite felt like returning home after a long winter. The umami was not on the tongue, it echoed in the chest, warm, anchoring, endless. As he ladled it into a jade bowl, a figure approached. Judge Hui, the old man with chopstick eyebrows, watched silently. Luo Chen presented the bowl with both hands. Judge Hui sniffed once. Then tasted. He did not speak. He did not react. He simply set the bowl down. And bowed. Gasps rippled through the nearby watching chefs. A celestial judge bowing? Where did you learn to summon the fifth realm? Judge Hui asked. I listened, Luo Chen said. Not to noise. To hunger. To silence. Fifth realm unlocked, dragon bone kanji, umami. New ability, resonant chi. Strengthens all dishes by harmonizing existing taste realms. May blend effects for greater emotional depth or lasting impressions. The moment the realm awakened, Luo Chen felt it, a pulse that harmonized the other four realms inside him. His skills no longer felt separate. The flames, the memory, the longing, they wove together into a single chi current, centered in his heart dantian. His cooking was no longer just emotional. It was spiritual. After the trial, other chefs approached him in hushed tones. Teach me. Were you really expelled from the academy? Did your food really make a tycoon cry? But Luo Chen only smiled faintly. He had no interest in pride or fame. He was already thinking of the next page in the seven-realm cookbook. That night, as he sat beneath the stars, the final 2 pages revealed themselves. The 6th page shimmered gold, with characters carved like brushstrokes in sunlight. 6th realm, soul taste, the flavor that awakens destiny. To master this, you must serve one whose fate is bound by chains unseen. Beware, this realm walks the edge of life and death. And beneath it, a faint, nearly invisible line, inked in pale silver. A final realm exists, beyond the 7. Luo Chen traced it with his finger. The ink warmed beneath his touch. A voice, not his own, whispered in his mind. To reach the 8th taste, you must cook for yourself. The celestial kitchen faded with dawn. Its mist unraveled into pale ribbons, the mountain halls dissolving like sugar in hot water. The chefs who failed the trials awoke in their own kitchens, their memories hazy. Those who passed, however, carried more than memory. They carried flame. Luo Chen stepped through the fading archway and returned to his alley, the same cracked stone path, the same rusting signboard that read, Chen's Noodles. And yet, nothing was the same. He stood taller. His movements were calmer. His walk, his grandfather's, now pulsed faintly with golden chi. It had become more than cookware. It was now a spirit vessel. The 7-realm cookbook, once a whisper in the back of his mind, now hovered like a living scroll when he cooked, its pages no longer needing to be opened. They responded to intent. He reopened the noodle stall. No fanfare. No media coverage. But before long, people came. Not because they saw ads or hashtags. But because word spread. He made a man with PTSD remember his mother's smile. My son hadn't spoken in a week. 1 spoon of that soup, and he cried. She walked out looking lighter. Like something left her chest. No one left untouched. Not even the silent beggar with clouded eyes, who, after eating Luo Chen's memory tofu, spoke for the first time in years. Your grandfather, he once cooked for me too. And then came the moment that changed everything. An old woman, wrapped in silks too rich for the alley, arrived with a young girl who hadn't eaten in days. Her body was frail. Her soul, fading. She's cursed, the woman whispered. Every doctor says her fate is sealed. I heard, your food heals. Luo Chen didn't promise anything. He simply rolled up his sleeves. And cooked. Not to save. Not to boast. But to reach. To connect. The dish was a silent porridge infused with the umami of grain, the sweetness of memory, the bitterness of her fear, and the spice of her hidden anger. The girl took one bite. Her pale eyes flickered. And tears fell, not of pain, but of life returning. That night, the sixth realm awakened. Soul taste, mastered. Ability unlocked, fate severance. The power to untangle a thread of karma woven in pain. One dish, once per moon, to change a destiny. The next morning, Luo Chen found himself standing before the grave of his grandfather. He poured tea. Laid out steamed buns. Lit a single incense stick made from tangerine peel and cinnamon bark. "Grandpa," he murmured, voice thick, "I used to think I was learning to be a great chef." He smiled faintly. "But now I know. I'm just learning to become you." Wind rustled the grass. A warm breath brushed his fingers. The seven-realm cookbook opened once more, this time, of its own will. A final page, written not in ink, but light, unveiled itself. Eighth realm, the hidden flame. Not sweet. Not bitter. Not spicy. Not even soul or spirit. To unlock this, cook for no one. Not a rival. Not the world. Not even for family. Cook for the one you fear to feed, your truest self. Luo Chen closed the book. Took a deep breath. And smiled. That evening, under golden lamplight, he hung a new sign beside the old one. Painted by hand, carved into aged wood. The School of Heart-Fed Flame. Teaching culinary cultivation, one dish. One soul. One flame at a time. The first student arrived before the ink even dried. A quiet girl. Nervous. Holding a cracked ladle. Can anyone learn?" she asked. Luo Chen grinned. "If you can feel, you can cook."